Hello, welcome to the Workforce Solutions Capital Area YouTube channel. My name is Jessica Garay. I'm the Data and Project Coordinator for Capital Area's Workforce Board. And today you're joining us for a unique video series of video interviews with professionals in in-demand industries to learn more about career pathways and educational opportunities in Central Texas. Today we are covering careers in construction, and we have a special guest, Belinda Santolucito, with American Constructors. And we also have Bryanalyse Hernandez, Bree, a lead construction trainer at American YouthWorks. And she has some questions that she's prepared to ask Belinda. Now, Bree and Belinda, if you can just take a moment and introduce yourself, we'll start with Belinda.
Hi, my name is Belinda Santolucito. I have been in the Austin area for 18 years. I moved up from South Texas to attend the University of Texas at Austin. I went to school and studied architectural engineering, and I've been with my current employer, American Constructors, for the last 13 years.
Hi, my name is Bryanalyse Hernandez, also known as Bree. I am a construction trainer coordinator for American YouthWorks. So I help students, learn about the construction trade, get certifications, kind of get some hands-on training to what it feels like being on a real construction site. I started there about 5 years ago, and I really learned at that point that I liked working with my hands. I liked building things. So it's really just become a passion in my career to, teach others how to do these same kinds of things.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Belinda and Bree. So like I mentioned, this is more of like an informational interview where Bree has prepared some questions to ask Belinda about her career journey and her experience with American Constructors. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to Bree, and I'm going to hide my video so y'all can kind of engage in the questions, and then I'll wrap up the meeting at the very end. Thank you again for taking the time to be a part of this video.
All right. So Belinda, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about the company that you currently work for. Can you give us a brief description about your company?
Yes, American Constructors, we've been around since 1982. We do a lot of commercial projects in the area. We build a lot of the schools that you'll see when you're driving around the Austin, Cedar Park, Leander, Dripping Springs area. We work in pre-construction. We also work constructing, and we also have some self-performed work, which means we have crews that do the actual work itself. For example, concrete crews and door and hardware installation crews.
Awesome. What inspired you to get into this profession?
So I went and studied architectural engineering at the University of Texas, and within that degree program, there are certain certain roads that you can take. You can do design, you can do like structural design or civil engineering. Another path is construction management. And at first, I had no idea which path I wanted to take. It wasn't until about 2 years in that I got into more of my core classes, where I went and interned. So they had a career fair, and I interviewed and entered at a construction company in Houston. So I moved away for the summer and interned there, and realized that I loved it. It was just really hands-on, and I just loved working in the construction field. And so I felt like that was the path for me. And so after I graduated, I started working full-time with American Constructors. And actually 1 year before I graduated, I applied for a internship, and I was able to get hired on here during the semester. So it really helped me realize that this is what I wanted to do.
Awesome. I really like that you kind of explained a little bit about your educational background, because I teach introductory craft skills, and it really introduces a lot of the different types of trades that one might get into in the construction industry. And like you said, there are just so many. Like, even if you're in a smaller field, more focused field like architecture or engineering, there's still so many things within that. So do you have maybe a guidance counselor that helped you, or you just decided that you like that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, so part of the curriculum was there were a lot of engineering classes like concrete engineering, wood engineering, masonry engineering, and then there were a few classes that were geared towards construction. One of them was an overall general construction company where we had to actually go on a site and do some research on a certain part of the construction and present on it. And so I think that was what got me into it, going out on the site and just feeling, you know, just so alive when I was out there. It's just a great feeling. And so once I realized that construction was one of the paths, then that's when I started looking and researching companies in the area that did that type of work.
That's really awesome. There is something really cool about being out on a site.
Yes.
So I see that you've held several positions with American Constructors. Did you have a favorite one or one that you like had the most fun doing?
I would say yes. So I've done entry-level position is called field engineer, and then I've also worked as a project manager out in the field, and then now I'm a pre-construction project manager, which means I do a lot of the work up front before construction starts, so before we break ground out on the site. And I would say that my favorite was probably field engineering, and although it was the most labor intensive, you know, I'd wake up at 3 a.m. for some early morning pours and then be up late the night before making sure that all the rebar was in place and that all the inspections had taken place. Even though it was the most labor intensive, and I would say it was the most rewarding. So just kind of seeing the next day, all the concrete crews out there placing the concrete and it coming together was just, I think it was just really rewarding for me.
Awesome. So were there any major influences on why you switched roles from, you know, being a field engineer to your next position?
Well, I think just as with any other position out there, once you start learning one of the areas, you kind of, to keep growing, you kind of move to different areas so that you can learn all the different aspects of the company and of the industry. So that was part of, you know, I'd done that for a few years. So it was kind of time to move on to the next role. And so as a project manager, I dealt more with you know, the money side of the project. So managing subcontracts and owner contracts and managing the everyday change orders and all the flow of the money and paying our subcontractors and so forth. So I got to see a whole new area and learn a whole lot more.
Right. Can you give us an idea of what a typical day looks like for you as a pre-construction manager?
Yes. As a pre-construction manager, I'm officed out of our central office, and we are located in Cedar Park. So I come here, I have an office, I review drawings, so open up a set of brand new drawings. Those are anywhere from, depending on what phase the project is at, say a few hundred pages long, you know, and they include architectural, civil, structurals, say food service, technology. So just kind of going through one page at a time, reviewing the project. And then once I have a good understanding what that scope is, I start entering it into our estimating software. And so I'll enter, you know, all of the different scopes that I can think of. And then once that's complete, then I start applying numbers to it. So I start putting budgets, I start putting, you know, everything I can think of that the project will include, I start putting that together. And so the end goal is that I provide a estimate or budget to the owner and, you know, kind of walk them through what that estimate includes and make sure that it falls within their budget. So for example, a school district will say, we have, you know, $30 million to build this school. Given these sets of drawings, are we there, or do we need to cut back, or you know, are we too under budget? So that's kind of my job, is to kind of give them an idea of where they're at that phase.
Great. Yeah, awesome. So what are some of the job titles or occupations within your company?
So there are, you know, entry-level field engineer, and that's usually someone who is just coming out of college. We also have a project manager, pre-construction side. We have our administrators and we have our field workers who are out there, you know, actually doing the manual labor and helping these projects come together.
So what level of education, training, or skills does an applicant need for an entry-level position with American Constructors?
So we typically go and recruit at universities and colleges, and so we see a lot of four-year degrees, bachelors in construction science, in any field of engineering. Typically it's architectural engineering or civil engineering, but we also have had others in like mechanical engineering. We've also had construction science majors from with associate degrees, so two-year degrees from local colleges join our team.
So women in construction are a lot more common now than, you know, say a decade ago. What was it like getting into this profession at the time that you did?
So I got into the industry about 13 years ago, so it was a little bit different. And a lot of times I found myself being the only woman out on the job site. And a lot of times I get the second, you know, the double look, like, oh, it's a lady. So I thought that was, you know, interesting. I've also been asked the question, oh, so your husband lets you work? So I thought that was kind of interesting. It was like, you know, I never even thought of it that way. You know, I've always planned to have a career of my own, so it was interesting. But I would say overall my experience has been great. I've been fortunate to, I guess, just be in the path of others who have been very respectful, and I work with a great team. Our leaders are just good examples for the rest of the people on our team, so it's been a good experience.
That's great. I see that you're on the U.S. Green Building Council. That's really cool because part of our construction career is also actually called Casa Verde Builders. So we're really interested in green building. Can you tell us a little bit more about that council?
Yes, definitely. So the goals are to kind of just show others what, you know, what sustainable design and building, I guess, practices are out there, and just encourage the younger generation. So we have a committee that is trying to get some of the younger generation involved. But basically it's educational. So we, you know, there's continuing education classes. A lot of the committee is LEED accredited. So there's LEED GA, and then there's LEED AP accreditations, and that's kind of just a certification that you can get to help, you know, promote the sustainable building, and so we kind of just help promote all of that.
Great. So what drew you to join that particular organization?
Well, I felt like I have the ability to have a big impact with all the people that I touch. You know, we work with a lot of subcontractors, owners, architects, designers. There's so many people out there, and I know that there is, you know, not as much green building that there could be. And so my goal is to help bring that forward, and, you know, as much as I can with the role that I'm in, and help implement it during design and construction. One of the things, one of the things specifically that I'm thinking about is, you know, all the waste that is generated on a construction site. So on some of our LEED certified projects, we recycle, you know, 95% of our waste. And yeah, and it's huge, and it feels good. You know, I don't feel bad throwing the cardboard box in the recycling container, because I know it's going to get recycled. And so I feel like if we could just implement that on all of our projects, that would be a step in the right direction.
Right. So are there any organizations you can suggest for students, you know, looking to get into this field?
I would say some of the organizations that I can think of are the USGBC Council, or organization. That's definitely a great step. Also, you know, in the construction industry, safety is huge. Every day matters, and you know, you can't let your guard down for 1 minute out on the project, because there are so many lives that rely on being safe on the project. So, you know, there's a lot of big equipment on the job, and there's a lot of edges on the job. And so OSHA, there's some certifications you can get, like OSHA 10-hour safety training or OSHA 30-hour safety training. When I see that on a student's resume, it really gets my attention, just because I feel like it's not mandatory for somebody to get that. So them going above and beyond to do that is really helpful.
Yes, I agree. Safety is really important. And that's awesome to hear you say, because at American Youth Works, that's one of the requirements for our construction trainees is, you know, at a very minimum, OSHA 10.
Wow, okay, that's great. Yeah, great to hear. I would say there may be a couple other organizations that I've been involved with that are helpful are, you know, the Boys and Girls Club. They always are looking for volunteers to help at their different clubs, and they have lots of clubs all over the area. So just giving back is, you know, it's really feels good to help someone else and maybe help guide them, even if it's just a few students or in any way that you can. It just feels good to be able to give back.
Right, and it helps you develop professionally as well, working those sort of areas. As someone with your level of success professionally, what challenges do you see yourself taking on next? Like, what are some next steps and next goals?
That's a great question. I've been wanting to kind of take it up to the next level and help with trainings for some of our new hires. You know, there's so much to learn and know in this industry, because you're working in all the different areas, you know, so from underground, you know, piers, underground, just the pad preparation for building, to the concrete work, to the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, and then to all the finishes, interior finishes and roofing, and there's different types. And so I would like to try to help all the newer hires and entry-level position people at my company, just try to build them up and give them as much training that I can. And so that would be my ultimate, you know, goal for now.
Right. Yeah. It's probably great to hear, like, from someone with a lot of experience as you're just getting into these fields. Was there any advice that you were given, like, early on in your career that you realized later was, like, really valuable, maybe that you'd like to share?
Yes. So I would say, I think one of the best things that one of my professors told me one time at UT was get out there and see what the different companies do, so that you can know that you're going and you're heading in the right direction and the right path. That's something you're passionate about. And so he said, you know, look for those summer internships, look for those part-time jobs at companies that are related to what you're interested in doing. One thing specifically he said was, you know, if they say no, you know, just ask if you can volunteer. And I would say that's the best advice that I could have ever received, because that's actually how I got my foot in the door here. So I was, you know, they had informed me that they had filled the positions that they needed for internships. And so I said, I would like to volunteer and just get the knowledge. And they ended up hiring me for that, for the semester. So.
That's great. So that kind of leads to the next question. Like, I'm wondering how students can, you know, form these relationships, network with professionals, and find their way into this foot of the door. I mean, you mainly answered that with, you know, asking if you can volunteer. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yes, I would say look for opportunities that are provided to you from, you know, the school that you're at. If they're offering any kind of, hey, we're going to have this 1-day externship program where you go and visit a company, take advantage of those opportunities and keep checking in with those advisors and those counselors for opportunities like that. A lot of times, you know, you don't realize that those opportunities are out there unless you ask. And so just staying on top of it and just looking for those, you know, those ways to do that. Also reaching out to the companies directly. Find a list of companies that you're interested in and reach out to their recruiting departments and asking them if they're looking for help, if they're, you know, if they have any any time to just show you around for the day, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help.
Right. Yeah, I found that in this industry a lot. People are eager to teach others, and that's really awesome. Like,
Yes, I agree. I've seen it too.
okay. Well, Belinda, that's about all I have for you today. I don't know if there's anything else you were interested in adding.
No, I think just, a few other tips is once you get out into the workforce would be, work hard, be assertive, and just keep asking questions. That's one thing that I struggled with at the beginning is I was afraid to ask questions because I thought, well, what if they think bad of me because I don't know the answer to this? But I would say if I had to go back, that's one thing I would do more of is just ask questions, and that's really how you learn. So
It's great to hear.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Wow, that was such a good interview. Thank you, Belinda, and thank you, Bree. I definitely learned a lot about career pathways in construction, and then also what you do as a pre-construction project manager. And it's so awesome because y'all are both women in construction. So I'm going to use the hashtag women in construction and promote just the awesome work that y'all are doing. And I know Bree is very passionate about teaching her students both safety and construction on the work site. So I think it was a good match. And for those who are watching our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and you like this video, and then stay tuned for other videos in the future. We have other videos that discuss pathways in manufacturing, healthcare, IT, as well as construction. So with that said, thank you so much, and everyone stay safe.